Do you feel like there's a spirit on the team that's embracing more of a creative style of play,
Yeah.
more free? You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
definitely, especially with the people we have. I think Cat's one of the most creative big men you'll see. Obviously, Jimmy's creative. Jeff Teague is creative. I try to be creative. Tyus is creative. There's so many guys who can do so many different things, and Tibbs is letting us grow within what he wants, which is really, really cool.
I was initially asked to write this article by a national sports media platform after giving an interview about Prince and various issues surrounding his death called Black in Minneapolis. The media platform, which will remain unnamed, requested me to pen a written piece examining the progress of an up-and-coming Minnesota Timberwolves NBA franchise. An angle for the article's subject matter was to understand this team's success with newly acquired black players in and around the state's troubling profile regarding race. The article was completed in December and shelved due to creative differences, professional views, and direction of perspective. To be more specific, the national sports media platform and their black editor did not want to lose any relationships with the NBA or Timberwolves franchise. These unfortunate realities prevent a true understanding of systemic issues impacting most, if not all, black journalists who desire to write an honest account of the people, places, and things that shaped the climate of professional sports. This was a final draft of a completed article that remained unpublished until now. The Minnesota Timberwolves, Hoopers in a Cold State for Black Folks, by Ralph L. Crowder III.
What kind of energy do you feel from the crowd or from the city in general?
It's hungry. Like they're hungry. Like they've been, without the playoffs and like a really good team for a while.
The Minnesota Timberwolves' late October 2017 home win against the Oklahoma City Thunder put the basketball world on notice. Judging by the look on Karl-Anthony's face, that second early season defeat against the Thunder at the newly renovated Target Center was surprising to audiences just like the Black Santa Claus at the Mall of America. For casual fans who normalize yearly flashes of potential, this game marked a different vibration in the city of Minneapolis and the rebranded NBA franchise. Excitement in the crafted combination of players, including new additions of Jimmy Butler, Jeff Teague, Taj Gibson, and Jamal Jigga J crossover Crawford, have brought a sense of closure to years of bottom-down seasons of defeat. Frontline corporate media executives and inner-city sports gurus have met in their separate places of operation and officially co-signed the T-Wolves. This team's demonstrated urgency to win has set a new wave of deserving buzz and curiosity in the sports world of basketball. The land of 10,000 lakes and purple rain is also going through a change in its outward identity. At the same time new shine is pointed to the local basketball scene, the cold winter chill came with similar groundbreaking interest for the Minneapolis and St. Paul 2017 local political elections. The capital city of St. Paul made a historic first when they elected a black mayor, largely due to a very public racial controversy with their local police union. Minneapolis moved into international politics, electing 2 black transgender candidates for city council, both who will represent areas of historically black neighborhoods. With that shift in politics, I looked at my upcoming Timberwolves experience as an interesting journey of observation and further discovery. Minnesota is the current or former home of Prince, Philando Castile, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, Hubert Humphrey, Bob Dylan, Keith X. Ellison Muhammad, Jesse the Body Ventura, Mint Condition, Walter Mondale, Isaiah Washington, New York City's most celebrated high school point guard in years, and a popular white albino rapper named Brother Ali. Minnesota has an interesting diversity of political and cultural influences. Digging deeper, Some may not be aware that it is also home to the dangerous full-flight, racially charged legacy of Charles Lindbergh, named at the Minneapolis-St. Paul Charles Lindbergh International Airport. The backdrop of that history is reflected today, where Minnesota leads the nation in some of America's worst social and economic conditions for black people. Beside the examples of international media covering tragic life-ending police encounters, or having an average black family income lower than black folks who live in Mississippi, there was an alarming 82% spike in suicides among Minnesota's black population between 2010 and 2014. I'm going to say that again. There was an alarming 82% spike in suicides among Minnesota's black population between 2010 and 2014. So here indeed is an interesting sports story, something unique but not original in the era of kneeling athletes or hypersensitive fear-based reactions to LeVar Ball. I attended the T-Wolves team practice designed for hand-picked local and national press one day after the OKC home victory. Thankful for the access to the new facilities, which did not come without a long coordinated struggle by a dedicated assistant, I was able to get a quick peek into the brand behind the recent hype. Andrew Wiggins working on his three-point drills, Shabazz Muhammad and George Ding at another hoop practicing on their handles and rebounding skills. This new squad was something different than previous years. There was a quiet, stable strength felt in the gym. Thoughts about the missing presence of Ricky Rubio wasn't even considered in this team's upgraded look. At first sight, it was interesting to watch a predominantly black team and support staff finish their workout routine after a symbolic victory of noted progress. It was also an interesting observation not seeing the progress for any other black journalists sharing this access to an emerging national sports story. The street buzz the team had generated in the community barbershops or recreation centers didn't match the developing narrative being recorded or documented by preferred media outlets. This brief visit inside the professional world of fast break dunks, fadeaway jump shots, and butter jelly rolls provided immediate insight into the politics surrounding who and what stories are being told to the general public. Sports, race, and greater society started to connect and ironically mirror the stated themes of this article. There was a feeling similar to the outdoor winter chill as all activities in the practice gym started to wind down. Coach Tom Thibodeau and Karl-Anthony Towns were the first called to answer various questions from a group of engaged media stat scholars. It was an exercise of patience to see the dynamics of interaction take place. The coach, who appeared surprised but cool with a new face in the mix, answered the usual game-related concerns. Thibodeau demonstrated a show of support for his players growing as a team. Towns, the big man with that splash from the three-point line, seemed to have a firm but guarded confidence in his responses to what appeared to be a very familiar press corps. He answered my question regarding the vibe of Minneapolis and any expectation of the team's recent win pattern being effective in re-energizing the community. Professional sport teams have the potential to wake up a city's spirit of loss, frustration, and isolation. This condition of stunted growth can be readily observed around the team's downtown practice facility. The area has an overwhelming homeless population of black people living in need of shelter in this cold weather climate. As an unknown face, it was important to be equally persistent as other reporters when asking questions to the next player available. To be clear, my perspective of sports is coming from a black man in his late 40s who grew up before the total commodification of hip-hop and basketball culture. I had lost some relationship to these two connections that shaped much of my foundation in younger years of passion and expression. The purpose for attending this practice was to identify and observe more understanding for a group of young men who strive to maximize their athletic excellence but could be easily shielded from realities of the local communities they play in. When Jamal Crawford was introduced as the only other player to answer questions, there was an immediate expectation of interacting with a familiar face. The talented veteran from Seattle shared similar influences in a specific time of a lost era, black products of cultural creativity like Illmatic, Reasonable Doubt, 36 Chambers, Tribe, Biggie, The Ruckers, and One mixtapes, Pac, Iverson, and the classic basketball documentary Soul in the Hole were all seasonings sprinkled in the pot of J crossover style. The pivotal OKC game further highlighted his value and proven ability to get buckets against the league's top players. He made coming off the bench an art form, showing a humble new way to get shine and respect from his peers.
This is like a bubble year, for this franchise. What kind of things do you role model to the team right now to help keep them on a certain level and rise to the expectations of winning this year?
Yeah, I just try to be a truth teller, to be honest with you. I think sometimes it's good for encouragement. Sometimes it's good to just be honest as possible. I think with me, it's just coming from a place of the side of right. Like I don't have any agenda. I'm just trying to help, whoever it is, or just the team continue to grow. So I think it's really cool to be in this position, to be honest with you, because different guys lead different ways, and I've been around some of the best leaders before, and some are louder than others, some are not, but they are coming from the right place.
You talked about the 10,000 point plateau yesterday. You just found out about it yesterday.
Yeah.
What did that mean to you?
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about it, to be honest with you. I remember, like I said, when I was in Atlanta, Mike Woodson, he played in the league for a while. He was like, I got 10,000 points in this league, son. And I didn't have it at the time, but to have 10,000 points just off the bench is pretty cool.
The selected subject matter of this article took a different turn when the pressure and psychological realities of being the only black reporter in the space kicked in. I was there to get a story, not to become part of one. Obtaining similar accommodations as the other white media outlets, which varied from corporate to community, was not extended as an equal opportunity for interaction with the team. The feeling or impression made was, if my credentials weren't one of being equivalent to a television host on a nationally syndicated network, this clubhouse was for members only. With those conditions in mind, how are reporters and media who come from the same communities as the overwhelmingly majority of NBA players able to participate in the field of sports journalism? Are there broader issues and institutional practices in this profession that aren't being talked about publicly? Is the thought that all we want is access to the game, even with the understanding there are separate drinking fountains of engagement? Whose fault is this? Have black journalists normalized an unnatural excitement for their submissive role in sports-related media? Playing the game, I chose not to ask a few planned questions in this close-knit group of preferred reporters. Inquiries regarding black athletes feeling a burden to speak out on social or political issues of the day would have no doubt been perceived as touching nerves. Being a student of my environment, any questions relating to that particular subject matter from the only black face in the group would have been viewed as a revolutionary act of rebellion.
That's right. And those that have been irresponsible, unaccountable, they are not allowed in this space. We have black media here that's ours. The other media, FDR, no apology, no interview. 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 No apology, no interview.
perceptions of free independent thought usually provoke quick termination of house visits. At the prior evening's nationally televised OKC game, there was a large contingency of press. All checked in and walked through the designated doors. Maybe 3 out of 60 present were black. For some strange reason, my interview coordinator was unable to secure our access. My ability to gather player comments or document team interaction was made available only at practice the following day. Every press member at the team practice, excluding me, was provided the normal credentials and access to the previous evening's game. Individuals who excel in any arena of life can rise above their obstacles. History shows those who take risks without fear of failing are qualities exhibited by most who achieve high levels of success. I made a conscious effort not to stand out by avoiding certain topics that may have been risky, playing the game not to jeopardize fitting into a small group of selected white journalists. Covering this team of black players seemed to have an interesting racial access code that was extended on a trial basis. Considering the external change of seasons and the cold temperature outside, it didn't surprise me that it was a recognizable freeze. The problems of the state's inequalities were on full display, but the newly black team was winning? The decision to be a guarded journalist impacted me greatly following Crawford's answer to a question about his role on a new team seeking greater responsibility to win. His response made me pause and reflect, like a visiting cousin cracking open an old-school family photo album. The young man who shared language and a similar cultural experience said something that made me think beyond politics. It also grounded a purpose for being there in a political context. Jamal Crawford said, "At the core of who I am, I'm just a hooper."
I think if you start, right, just put it out there, if you average 20 points, you start, your team's decent, you probably make the All-Star game.
Right.
If you make the All-Star game, you probably get close to a max contract, and, you know, it's pretty much said you get more commercials, all the other stuff that comes with it. But I'm like, at the core of who I am, I'm just a hooper. Like, I don't care if I start, come off the bench, whatever. And I want to win more than anything. So for me, I think the sacrifices is maybe financially, maybe more playing time, maybe more, you know, a bigger brand, if you say, and just things of that nature. But I'm not into all that stuff anyway.
So it's worth it? So it's been worth it?
For me, it's been more than worth it.
That answer immediately opened up a brief detour in our exchange. I knew exactly what being a hooper meant. It's a term and identity different than being just a basketball player. Everybody can't take the enormous social and political pressure required to rebel against the status quo of normality. A hooper is one who seeks freedom of expression and usually is attacked because of their willingness to stand and push boundaries and open doors that may have been closed previously. A hooper is something you are. A basketball player is something you do for your temporary role in the game. Jamal Crawford reminded me that I was and always have been a hooper. Minnesota is going to benefit from this style of veteran leadership, mark my words. Final draft concluded December 2017.
What kind of piece you doing?
Update and conclusion. Immediately following the December 2017 draft submissions of this article, my pro day experience with Minnesota Timberwolves got shook and crossed over. A brief visit to the house was done and all subsequent media access requests were denied. The national media platform who approached me for an independent lens on a story specifically about race, basketball, and this black team's success in the state of Minnesota disappeared like the spring snow blizzard of 2018. Escaping this contemporary cultural captivity continued to motivate me as an independent journalist. Working with a group of inner-city youth from Project Feed, a community-based program designed to enhance skills in the field of media, This experience has inspired me to further challenge an environment appearing to have very limited access for black folks not dribbling a basketball. There will be a follow-up to the Timberwolves organization to open their doors to youth journalists from the Noted Media program in Minneapolis. This group of talented young ones are a segment of the known impressionable audience who consume constant targeted sports marketing and promotional media campaigns. Billions of dollars are spent to inspire inner-city youth to dream to be a part of the NBA's professional brand. What if those dreams were to lead the same children to be writers, not players? Is it possible there are some who rather be the next Stephen A. Smith and not like Mike? I hope the T-Wolves' next attempt to give a first impression will role model a different value system. It is also an expectation that more black reporters not be satisfied and excited to humbly receive separate forms of sport drinking fountain experiences. The progress of opportunity and representation for players has evolved, but ownership always reflects the norms within any organization. It is my understanding Kevin Garnett is seeking to buy into or buy out the current owner of the Minnesota franchise. The aesthetic of street basketball has always been a preferred source of free expression for me. Any real hooper knows their relationship to that source of freedom and creativity is sometimes worth more than money. Sports stories like this continue to be written for those who are fearless to shoot a three while a defender is in your face. The Timberwolves season finally ended with a playoff berth after a 14-year drought. My observation about the canvas of Minnesota and predictions regarding one of the last NBA players standing from a lost era of hip-hop and youth culture turned out to be correct. If there is a next time, my goal will be to write a story more about the players, hopefully avoiding this narrative of difficulties for black journalists covering mostly black players in a sport dominated by black athletes. In closing, a welcoming environment can go a long way for a writer or player interested in a productive visit or a continued role to further assist an up-and-coming team's desire to win. Peace.
I think if you start, right, just to put it out there, if you average 20 points, you start, your team's decent, you probably make the All-Star game.
Right.
If you make the All-Star game, you probably get close to a max contract, and, you know, it's pretty much said you get more commercials, all the other stuff that comes with it. But I'm like, at the core of who I am, I'm just a hooper. Like, I don't care if I start, come off the bench, whatever. And I want to win more than anything. So for me, I think the sacrifices is maybe financially, maybe more playing time, maybe more, you know, a bigger brand, if you say, and just things of that nature. But I'm not into all that stuff anyway. So
it's worth it? So it's been worth it?
For me, it's been more than worth it.
So being a hooper then, so you know how this works. When you talk to different of your colleagues, hoopers across the country that play for different teams, what's the buzz do you sense that the Timberwolves are having right now internally? And
not everybody, because I have friends all across the league, and everybody's like, you guys are nice. You guys are going to really, really be good. Like other all-stars, other players on the other teams, and they really like our team a lot. Absolutely.
Is that something that's shared within the team? Like, is that known? I mean, do you guys share that?
I think we kind of know it, even without them saying it. We know we got something special here, and we know it's a special group, and I think this will be a special year.
Okay.
For sure.
That's what's up.
Yo, Flex, let's just set it off with a bang, baby. This is a long time. We gonna set this one off with the microphone being locked in. The rock on that flex on the face off. This house going down, baby. Double doses of flavor. What more can you ask for? Now I mean? Yeah. Damn small in the motherfucking house. Words. 240 crew, what's up, baby? Boogie down, bump in this shit. Yo.